Good afternoon. This is Debra V. Wilson. I am in Bradford. It is Saturday, the 21st of March, 2020, and the time is 1700 hours and 13 minutes, and the time zone is BST. The title of this very short podcast is called Panic Shopping, Hoarding, and Self-Fulfilling Prophecies. So I'm not sure how many, well, first of all, how many, my God, talk about delusional. I'm not sure who is familiar. I don't have many listeners. Speaking of psychology, talk about delusion. In any case, I'm not sure if people are familiar with the term self-fulfilling prophecy. So I'm going to read the definition off the internet, and then it's actually a concept, and it's if you are familiar with psychology, whether you've been in therapy or taking classes or just in your everyday life come across the term. In any case, here it is. Self-fulfilling prophecy refers to the socio-psychological phenomena of someone predicting, quote unquote, or expecting something, and this prediction, quote unquote, or expectation comes true simply because one believes it will, and their resulting behaviors align to fulfill those beliefs. This suggests people's beliefs influence their actions. Right. So today I went shopping at the Tesco Superstore in Foster Square. I think that's what it's called. It's near the Aldi's. I decided to change it up and go to a different store. Well, there were empty shelves there as well. And the other thing that was interesting was that it's a bigger space. It's wider, more open, and it was a lot more open because, again, it was empty shelves. But I noticed at that particular store, that just may have been the day and time or the situation that we are in, being the experience of COVID-19. But people were very chatty. So there was, here we go again, it's toilet paper. There was toilet paper. It was a packs of 24. So people were discussing. It was packs of 24, and it was 10 pounds for a pack of 24. So there were a group of people standing around, myself included, all women except for one man. It was a married couple with a baby in a pram. And he opined in very quickly and to talk about his job. They were out of toilet paper at his job. Then the conversation, we women sort of took over the conversation and talked about whether it was sensible to pay that amount or what we should do. We started talking about other things, and one of the women in the group discussed people hoarding, the hoarding of toilet paper, and she wished diarrhea on people who had hoarded toilet paper. She was quite angry about the fact that her only option, only in quotes, was to buy 24 rolls for 10 pounds because she said she kept telling us that she only had 2 rolls of toilet paper in her home, and that she was concerned, and so and hence she was talking about the people. Again, she wished diarrhea on people who are hoarding toilet paper. So as I walked around this very large store, there were lots and lots of empty shelves. The other thing that was gone was bread. The same thing happened at Aldi's earlier this week when I stopped by Aldi's. The bread was all gone. It was just gone. So one of the things that I'm thinking about from a socio-psychological perspective and also from a business perspective. So I used to be an accountant in America, in Chicago and Madison, Wisconsin. And so I do know that organizations, large organizations, do get better pricing on items because they buy in volume, huge volume, and they make contracts, and those and there's budget and forecasting involved. There's all sorts of accounting people involved, and decision makers, financial decision makers. There's anomalies that are built into the models, into their contracts. Now I'm talking about in private sector. In the state of Wisconsin, I work for the state, so that's government. So anytime an entity, be it a government entity or a private sector corporation, can buy bulk and give ask do a contract with a supplier, they can typically get a deal, and within that deal, they have contingency plans for emergencies, and that it's built into the contract what those emergencies are and how much of a deal they will get, and how much of a bargain, how much of a continued deal will they get based on the nature of the emergency and the duration of it. So here's the thing. All these major stores have done contracts with suppliers. And within those contracts, they would have to. I can't believe business here is any different, significantly different for budget and forecasting that is in North America, right? So they would have contingencies built in for emergencies. Not COVID-19, do they? Have not specifically, but do they have a contingency for week after week after week we're emptying the shelves? So here's the thing. It is psychologically jarring when we walk into the stores and see empty shelves. I think the best word for it is that collectively triggers us. So then the stores, as we want them to, they keep replenishing the shelves. So then what's that doing to those contracts they've made, those deals they've made? There is typically, again, maneuvering space with the contract and actual events. Okay. Again, that's the power of buying in bulk. That you have the ability to say to your supplier, something may come up. We want a contingency plan so you don't try to price gouge us if an emergency comes up. And when you're buying in such large multi-million-dollar contracts, pounds, sorry, you have the girth, the economic girth to make those deals. But this continued panic shopping, panic buying, hoarding that we're doing, we're pushing up against that. This is just the beginning of this journey that the Prime Minister has said may be weeks. So every week, every day we're emptying shelves, every day. And then my argument is if these stores leave those shelves bare, it's psychologically triggering and injurious to communities. So then if they're perpetually restocking because we're hoarding, what's that going to do to their ability to buy goods at the same price? And if they have to spend more to keep the shelves full, won't they pass those prices on to us? The scarcity we're concerned about, we as communities of people are creating the scarcity. We're literally manufacturing our own fear around food. I've lived in major cities. I've lived in London. And the only time I ever saw bare grocery store shelves was Christmas. Same thing in Chicago. The only time I saw bare shelves in Israel, when I lived in Israel, the short time I lived in Israel was Haifa, was around holiday periods. And the same thing when I lived in Wisconsin with my companion, Artsmeister. The only time we ever saw bare shelves were around the holidays. Major holidays at that. like Christmas. So this perpetually exhausting and depleting the inventory that's on the shelf. So I have no idea what's behind, the on-site warehouse and what other warehouses, the Tesco's and Morrison's and all these have, and Sainsbury's. But when we keep doing this, won't we get to the point that we're pushing up against their previously agreed upon contracts, and there's going to need to be some adjustment? And if they do have to expend more money and purchase at a higher rate, then aren't we responsible for the food prices going up? So I don't know who or what needs to say something. I'm not, I have no idea. Like, I have 37 people as subscribers, and most of my podcasts, I think maybe, oh, that's normal that I get 2 listeners. Oh, listeners. Well, yes, listeners. And so I don't know who people will believe and trust, and I think that's what's important. It, so I don't have the ability to vote in this country, not yet. And so, in all honesty, if I did have the ability to vote, the political party I'm most aligned with is Liberal Democrat. The Lib Dems. But my personality is such that Boris Johnson, who's Tory, the Tory party is the ruling party, and my personality is the ruling party. Within my moral code and belief system, I'm going to do everything. I'm all about participating in my citizenship as I did when I lived in America. And no matter, and if I'm here, not as a citizen, not yet, I will be one day, I'm all about participating. So I'm all about encouraging the people, the party in charge, to be the best, to do the best. And I am really good about reaching out via community activism. I'm a big letter writer, and now it's email. So I'm all about standing with the party in power, the Tory party, to do what I can to help so that we can get through this situation in a way that's the least injurious to the most. And the control we do have over virus that we don't have immunity to is not to self-harm. And at the moment, we are self-harming. This business with the grocery stores is nothing short of self-harming and self-fulfilling prophecies. So I'm going to post this video and podcast. I think more than anything, it becomes a way for me to give voice, because it's terribly disappointing and it's terribly frustrating when we're already in a complex situation, and then we do things that self-harm. And it's frustrating for me because I feel like I should be contributing more and doing more, and I actually don't know what to do. I've decided to do some volunteer work here in Bradford, and I'm going to fill out the necessary forms to do that. And of course, I'm doing my research, and that's very important for me. And that's definitely, in my opinion, contributing. But specifically around this, I don't know what to do. So I post podcast with, and if I'm lucky, 5 people will listen to them. But in any case, to those 5 people, have a think about the ways in which we can control this situation. And one of the ways we can control is not to self-harm and participate in self-fulfilling prophecies. This is Debra V. Wilson, and I am in